I just logged on to Twitter. Kenny Beats is trending for saying something that upset a lot of producers. He said, "There is no one dumber than a person trying to get rich by making music." And people were freaking out, whatever. I can see a lot of producers, a lot of rappers looking at this tweet, just kind of running in different directions with it, guessing at what he means. I think one of the most destructive conclusions that someone can draw from this, and putting words in Kenny Beats' mouth in the process, is that musicians shouldn't get paid, that there should never be a financial motive to making music. There is a whole camp of people who love to make the argument that if you get paid for your music or your art in general, you're not a legitimate artist. Real artists do it for the love, blah, blah, blah. All those people have day jobs. But the narrative that an artist sells their soul, a producer sells a beat and sells their soul because they're a slave to money, blah, blah, blah. It's fucking stupid. Some of the most revered pieces of art in history have been commissioned. I'm talking about classical music. You know, people are always talking about how legitimate classical music is, and all these beat makers nowadays are making bullshit trap drums and blah, blah, blah. And then they sell it and they sell their souls. I'm talking about classical music, art from the Baroque period, the Sistine Chapel. All of these are commissioned. So no, I'm not having that conversation, but I fear that that's probably a conversation that's going to come from Kenny Beats' tweet. ZTR says, maybe not rich, but I still want to be able to live comfortably off my art. Kenny Beats says, exactly. Marco Plus brought up Lil Yachty for some reason. I don't know. I'm not going to go into that. But right here, Kenny Beats says this. The point is, do the music you love. This is the worst get-rich-quick scheme in the universe. Yes. And I've said this for years in my content. Making music, especially making beats, is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm sure Kenny Beats is not saying people who get paid off of that. Like, this is what he does for a living. I really would put my money on Kenny Beats not believing that producers who get paid to make beats and do that for a living are somehow illegitimate, less talented, less deserving, selling their souls. That wouldn't make any sense. What he's saying is, if you're making music that you're not passionate about simply for the sake of getting rich, you're dumb. People talk about how saturated the music game is. I hate that word. I don't really use it for that reason, because it's like an excuse for people to never try. And I think producers and musicians of all types can get to a point where they're making a living off of their art, doing what they love. But in order to get to the point of making music for a living, you have to go through a lot. You probably won't make any money right away. And so if you don't love what you're doing, you're gonna give up. It took me many years to get my first placement. And even after I got my first placement, and as a matter of fact, I switched the studio up. Let's look at my very first plaque. Can we just appreciate this? Shout out to my girlfriend, Kayla. She helped me do all this. So my very first plaque, I got that, thought I was gonna be a millionaire, and I'm still working a day job because I got a 4-figure check off of that beat for the advance. And then it was like, what do you mean $1 million isn't falling from the sky? I still had to really hustle my way through the music business. If I were doing it for money, I would have quit many years ago. That's, I think, what the spirit of Kenny Beats' tweet is. Make music you love, because that passion, that love for the music that you're making will get you to the point of making money off of it. If you hate the music you're making and you're just making it because you think that's how to make money, that's not how to make money. I know there's a narrative that people just go out, make something trendy and get rich off of it. If in fact you are one of the dumb ones that Kenny is talking about, and you think that you can just throw together some drums that you think are gonna sound hot because you heard something similar on the radio, be my guest, test it out for yourself. Now, speaking of making money for a living, I wanna react to a Heat video. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, H-E-A-T-E. They put out a lot of content. I haven't ever reacted to it. Their content specifically targeted to producers who are trying to market their music and make money. This video has a compelling title, How to Sell Beats Without Relying on YouTube Views, which is something that a lot of producers don't think is possible. I speak on this all the time. Let's watch it, see what we think.
The other day, I was just scrolling on Twitter and I saw this screenshot that caught my attention.
Shout out to Ellipsy.
A user named Ellipsy had posted a tweet showing her beat sales, and she asked some questions. Like, what external factors could be influencing my numbers? And is this enough data to predict April? Why or why not?
Clearly, this is a person who is as passionate about their business as they are about their music, because these are questions that I don't think the average producer asks. I mean, these are higher level marketing questions. Consider that. A lot of producers will talk all day about how they're frustrated that they're not making any money, they're not making any sales. Are they asking these types of questions? Are they having this kind of interaction with their data? Or are they simply playing the guessing game with their livelihood?
This is everything that you need to know about selling beats online. Those
Wow.
factors are website traffic, conversion rate, average order value, and a weird mystery factor. Well, instead of just explaining it, let me show you an example with Matthew May, a producer we've been working with a lot for the past year. If we look at his 2022 yearly stats, he had a killer year, but what about September? What happened there? Well, we looked at his data, and here is what we saw. It's pretty interesting. All right, guys, so for the key metrics, I went ahead and made a graph based on Matt's stats from June the whole way to December in 2022. So we have visitors per month, we have purchases per month, we have conversion rate per month, have average order value per month, and then we have revenue per month. Now, if we do look at this, we can see there was a pretty big revenue drop in August the whole way down to September, but the truth is this was actually a lot worse, and we actually managed to kind of save the month for Matt. Let's talk about that. So what we decided to do was go ahead and run an end of summer sale the last week of September to see if we can't utilize his email list to try and make some more sales. And this is why having an email list is so important, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I just did this. I didn't do it because my sales had declined. I did it because I knew that what was coming up was tax season. And I know for most people who are, working, they end up getting refunds around now. So if you're an artist, and I mean, if I were an artist and I had a couple thousand, maybe even just a couple $100 coming in from my tax refund, now would be a great time to invest in beats. And so as a producer who wants to provide value to my customers, why not run a bulk deal so that they're getting more beats for less money? People appreciate that, especially around times that you can predict consumer spending is going up.
So there is one day in March, and look at this, made $3K during that time period. So I'm truly not sure how September would have panned out. Even though we kind of managed to save it within a summer sale, it still wasn't his best month. But being able to see that your metrics are down and being able to actually have some tactical action on how to possibly fix this and get your revenue back up, that's really what matters.
Yeah, that's key. That's part of running a business. Like I said, a lot of producers resist the business element of the music business. They just want to make beats and they want the money to just come. And unfortunately, what we're not getting as a community is the fact that once we get into becoming career musicians, we're unsigned producers. We're entrepreneurs. We're really no different from a person starting a grocery store down the street. We're no different from someone starting a barber shop or a nail salon. We have to advertise. We have to understand our business. We have to cater to our customers. We have to do a lot of work that is completely outside of the realm of our own experience. We're experienced making music. We love making music. A lot of us don't like the business. And if we resist the business part, then yeah, we can still make music, but we won't be getting business.
Now, when talking to Matt, he said, yo man, this is kind of weird because this sort of thing happened exactly last year in September too. And if we look at the graph, lo and behold, there is that September sales dip in 2021. Now, Matt didn't have Google Analytics installed, so we don't really have any exact measurement.
I wonder if that had to, what happens in September universally, or at least in the United States? Kids go back to school. So if your demographic is older folks, then their kids are going to school. They're distracted. They're spending money on back to school items, supplies, clothing, etc. If your demographic is younger folks, either high schoolers or college students, what are they doing? They're traveling, they're moving back into their dorms, they're spending a bunch of money on books and whatever else they need to go back to school.
Now, it's only a guess here, but the ideal we had is that with his audience mostly still being old enough to just still being in school, they're probably going back to school.
I'm just glad I'm on the same page as Heat, because they know their shit.
Both years, November and December, have a pretty big spike. Why is that? Well, we'll talk about that soon, but I want to talk about measuring data first. And yes, it doesn't sound fun. So in order to get these numbers that are crucial, you either need a pro page, or in our case, you're using a custom website. Now, I don't recommend using a pro page, and here's really the biggest reason why. I've talked to producers who are like, hey Ryan, I started tracking my data and I can see that my conversion rate is pretty bad. How can I fix that? Well, the issue is the pro page really has you locked into their design. So all you can change are a few colors, but nothing drastic that's gonna change the results.
And for the record, I hope that does change. I do have a pro page. I do incorporate Google Analytics into my pro page. I do know a lot of producers who have a pro page, but then also have a separate website where they use the BeatStars widget, embed that into their website, and then they can change their website to advertise a sale, for example, to advertise a bulk deal, that type of thing. If you're at a point where you're not selling beats yet and you still have yet to really jump into this kind of higher level business talk, this higher level data collection and analytics move, then at very least you should be using every single pro page integration that you can. And I mean collecting emails, Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel. And if you're at a point where you don't really understand what those three things even accomplish for you, then focus on learning those. And then when you get to the point where you outgrow the pro page, then you consider creating your own website and embedding the widget. Dream Life does that, for example.
First place, you need a tool called Google Analytics. And I highly want to note this will not work on the marketplace. So please do not use the marketplace as your main BeatStore website. And then once you have the tool installed, you can start pulling all these numbers so you can start tracking your visitors, your conversion rate, and your average order value just by doing some simple math from these numbers. In fact, when it comes to sales data, we go a bit overboard with having our students in CCS use this custom dashboard that we built. But it's super helpful to get a complete overview
that looks dope.
Of selling business. Now, remember earlier how Matt for 2 years in a row did really good on November and December? Well, there is a reason for this.
Black Friday.
Artists love making Christmas tracks. So once I saw this was definitely a trend in 2021, we upped it a notch by doing a Black Friday sale and Christmas sale this year as well. Pretty simple idea, right? If people buy more during this period, run a sale and you'll probably get even more people to buy again. And we were right.
This is the reality of selling beats. If you really want to compete, because this is a business, you need the consistency, you need the quality in terms of the beat being emotionally evocative, not in the sense of having $1 million studio sound necessarily. And you need infrastructure. I feel like the first two are straightforward, though honestly, they're probably the hardest for producers to learn. Why? Because consistency involves breaking old habits, bad habits, and forming brand new habits that may be uncomfortable at first. I mean, think about people who want to get in shape. They want to go to the gym. Running on a treadmill isn't confusing. No, it's pretty straightforward. You just get on the damn thing and run. Lifting a dumbbell into the air is a pretty straightforward concept. The real struggle is forming the habit of showing up at the gym consistently 3 times a week, 5 times a week, even when you're busy, even when you're tired, even when you're sore, even when you're mentally exhausted and you don't want to do it. Same with beat making. Will you make time to make beats? Will you make time to create the infrastructure? Will you make time to answer your email, to post the beats, to enter in the metadata, to schedule your YouTube videos, to make the YouTube videos, to upload beats to multiple channels, to multiple traffic sources, multiple platforms? That's the hard part. That's where most producers give up. They don't get to the point of watching their Google Analytics and creating marketing and sales strategies based on either an increase in sales or a drop in sales. This is higher level stuff that he's talking about. As a matter of fact, every time I read a disgruntled comment from a producer who claims that beat selling is dead, if I click on their channel, they haven't uploaded a beat for months or years. So the second part I talked about is quality, right? We all think our beats are amazing starting out. But if we're not experienced in making the music that evokes emotions in our target audience, and if we're not experienced in producing beats specifically for them, then our beats probably won't sell. And a lot of producers take bad advice from other producers. I mean, do you hear producers claiming how simple beats are nowadays, how trash beats are because they're not complex? Beats have always been simple. When I put my producer ears on, and honestly, I kind of never take them off, which makes listening to music less fun than it used to be. I'm listening because even stuff that's complicated sounding tends to be a lot simpler than our brains are able to process when we're listening. Like I just replayed an Isley Brothers song yesterday, and the chords sounded so crazy to me until I learned them. And I was like, man, that transition chord between those two notes that really creates the emotion in that instrumental that I love is just a single note. You just walk down a half step in between the two chords. Actually, to me, in my experience, let me know what you think in the comments. To me, it's a lot harder to make something emotionally evocative and dope sounding while keeping it simple than it is to just flood a beat with complexity and sounds and just layer, stack it until there's no space for the vocalist. That's hard. Making an effective 4-bar loop is hard. Listen to your favorite classic music, especially if your favorite classic music isn't hip hop. One of my favorite songs of all time is Tracy Chapman, Fast Car. It's an amazing song. There's a lot of space in that song. And I'm not saying it's not complex, but it's not complex in the way that a lot of people conceptualize complexity in their heads. There's not an orchestral section. There's not a crazy bridge. The main part is a 2 or 3 chord turnaround, and it's an amazing song. But what about this last part, the whole analytics thing, the whole business thing? Look at me, right the fuck now, look at me. Start your analytics now. Even if you don't understand what this shit is, integrate Google Analytics. Sign up for Google Analytics and put it on your beat store. Integrate it. Same with the Facebook pixel. I don't care if you don't know what the fuck it is. Add it. I don't care if you know nothing about email marketing. Integrate Aweber or MailChimp to your BeatStars. Probably right now, if you're just starting selling beats, you're going to be more focused on building your catalog and working directly with customers and just finding out, more basic ways to market your music. That's fine. But in a year or two, when you get to the point where you're ready to start using the Facebook pixel, when you're ready to start using Google Analytics, when you're ready to start taking your email marketing to another level, you'll be grateful that you already integrated all of these data collection options. Because if you're at the point where you're ready to collect email addresses and you didn't have the integration set for the last year or two, you just lost 2 years worth of emails. You just lost 2 years worth of pixel data. You just lost 2 years worth of Google Analytics data that you could do so much with. If you look at your analytics from last year, you can do a lot this year, as you saw in that Heat video. But if you don't have those data, then you have nothing to go on and you're basically starting at zero again. So please, if you took nothing else from this video, just integrate every option that you can that's available on BeatStars. Email marketing, Google Analytics, Pixels, SMS marketing, MailChimp you can use freely until you reach a certain threshold. Facebook Pixel is free. Google Analytics are free. Incorporate them, collect those data, and then when you need them, you'll have them. Much success to you. Appreciate you watching. Peace.